And we are live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 71 of the Sling'N podcast. I'm TJ.
And I'm Kent.
And joining us tonight in the hot seat is Mike Lewis of Canebrake US. Mike, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Absolutely, man. Happy to have you. So, Mike, I know you've watched the show a few times. So, as you know, we like to give our guests an opportunity to introduce themselves. So, Mike, for all of those people out in the world and those listening on the podcast around in their cars on their daily drive, if they were so lazy that they missed the live show, assholes, why don't you go ahead and tell us all who the hell you are?
Okay. I'm Mike Lewis. I own, well, I am, because I own, and I'm the only employee of Canebrake Consulting Services. 20-year infantry veteran of the Army. Got to do a lot of cool things while I was in Canebrake Consulting. Sorry, I had an echo there. Got to do some cool things in the Army, especially towards the tail end. Jobs I was given, opportunities I was given, and been retired from the Army for 5 years now. Still love the shooting community, still love soldiers. It was time to go, so I went. But I still love soldiers and still want to continue to give back, because those are the young men and women that are out there in harm's way doing bad things to bad people, or potentially doing bad things to bad people. And the better we can help them and prepare them, the better off they are. So that's kind of my focus. Also love working with general shooters, the civilian community, just because I love the shooting community. It's great. So yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here. You come highly recommended by several people, one of whom being Cam Hayes. I don't know if you want that on your resume or not, but Cam recommends you, so that's either real good or real bad, depending on your point of view. But
Cam's my boy. That's real good.
We know. So for those of you playing the home game, this is one of those times where I get to shut up and do a lot of listening and a lot of question asking. Because for me, long distance is 50 yards with a pistol, right? Not the rifle guy. And we went out and as we often do, we found a bit of an SME here to talk about rifle shooting from both the civilian defensive and from the military perspective. So the first question, Mike, I'd like to really hit you with is I'd like to get you to talk a little bit about the lineage of the TC that you helped author, and we owe a couple folks an apology, just even for the title of this show. We might have been just a touch off base. We certainly didn't mean anybody a slight. So we called this "He Wrote the Book." I guess we should have called it "He and a couple of his buddies helped wrote the book" kind of thing. But why don't you talk about the TC and explain to the civvies like me what the hell a TC even is and what was the lineage behind that, if you would, please.
Okay, great. The TC is training circular. I'm not really up on the hierarchy because that's one thing I didn't study. But a few years ago, the Army changed the hierarchy of its doctrinal publications. You've got the ADP, Army Doctrinal Publication, then the ADRP, Army Doctrinal Reference Publication, I think it is, and then the ATP, Army Techniques Publication, and then below that you've got your FM or Field Manual, and then you've got your TC or Training Circular. The TC 3-22.9 had previously been FM 3-22.9. And since I'm a dinosaur, I grew up on FM 23-9, which became 322.9, and then TC 322.9. When I joined the Army, I didn't know any better. So, I learned what I was taught, and I learned the book I was given. And as I got more exposure and went and trained with dudes in the industry, very fortunate to have made a couple of friends that became mentors and introduced me to a couple of other friends. And you know how that goes. You're in the industry. Really started learning things. And at one point I was like, man, this book sucks. It's not that it's wrong, but the way ideas are conveyed, it sucks. And then at one point, my friend and mentor, Dan, hit me up because I had taken a job in the 82nd Airborne Division. It's a made up job called Small Arms Master Gunner. If you're in an armored division or a heavy mechanized infantry division, Master Gunner is a slotted position where they've got a guy that's school trained and all of that. The 82nd realized the need at some point to have a similar position, and they made one up and put a guy in it, and one guy led to another guy, the way the Army goes. And at some point I became that guy because somebody said, hey, this is the dude you need to put in that job. Okay, cool. And talking to my friend Dan, it was like, have you met Ash? Do you know this guy Ash? No, I can't say I do. And he said, well, let me put you in contact with him. He's your counterpart at 10th Mountain. Oh, great, cool. So start talking to Ash. Next thing I know, Ash had moved to Fort Benning, and he calls me up and is like, hey, dude, I got a new job. Oh, cool. What are you doing? He's like, I'm in doctrine. I got this project. I got to write this book. Do you want to take a look at it? And I'm like, yeah, who don't? You want to add input? Yeah, who don't? And he sent it to me, and it was a draft. And I started reading, and I was like, man, this is great. And then I got to this part where, there's this thing called the shot process. And for years and years, we know the fundamentals. What's this shot process? What is this? Where? So I call Ash up. I'm like, hey, dude, where are you going with this? What page are you on? I'm page such and such. Read 2 more pages and call me back. And read 2 more pages. I'm like, oh, this makes perfect sense. So I'll call him back and I'm like, dude, this is great. What we're doing is you're taking, and come to find out later, he called the fundamentals bumper sticker slogans because it's rote learning, steady position, aiming, breath control, trigger squeeze. If you do these things, you'll get a hit. But then you talk to somebody and you're like, okay, explain steady position. And you get the deer in the headlight.
We didn't have enough room on the bumper sticker for that one.
Right. So Ash calls it bumper sticker slogans. And what it is, it's rote learning, but you don't get the full context of it. You don't get, you don't get into the digestion and understanding and internalization of it, looking from educational perspectives. So what he did, and I was talking to him, I'm like, dude, what this is a holistic system of target engagement. This is internalizing all of these concepts. And instead of having a rote checklist of these things, do this, do this, do this, it's like building understanding of how this system works and how the individual is thinking through the problem of the engagement they've got in front of them. And does breath control matter for this shot? Well, it's a 50-meter shot. No, breath control doesn't matter with a rifle. Does stability matter? Well, it depends. A 200-meter shot, I need to be a little bit more stable than I do if I'm inside of a room. So if I'm inside of a room, red dot up, hit the trigger. Stability doesn't really matter. And it's, once you understand the shot process, you kind of, like I said, a holistic system. So as this developed, Ash had brought a couple more guys in. Say, hey, man, you want to give some input? And a couple other guys heard about it and said, hey, we want to talk to you about this. And, this guy over here said you need to talk to my buddy in this place. I told him, hey, you need to talk to my buddy in this place. And before the end of it, he had set up a collaborative tool using social media of all things. And there was a group of about 40 dudes, of which probably about 15 were consistently and heavily involved. And we had some pretty strong opinions as people like us tend to have, and a lot of arguments and a lot of agreement and a lot of Ash saying, okay, calm down. I've heard what you said, but I'm the guy in charge of this book, and it says this because I said it says this. And a lot of other times, it was like you make some good points to whoever was making the points and said, I'm going to change it because you made some good points. And at the end of the day, TC 322.9 published in May of 16. So, Ash was a genius in the way he did it. He crowdsourced his information, and he brought in dudes from across the force to where when it went to staffing, people in the Army know the word staffing because you send it out and say, hey, do you or your SMEs within your organization have any comments, or do you agree or disagree with what's been written? Well, multiple organizations had already had their quote unquote SMEs involved in it. So of course, when it comes out for staffing, the comments have already been submitted. So, and yeah, Ash did a really good job in writing it. He brought dudes in to help him work on it, and we've got what we've got. And I'm kind of partial to it. I got to admit I'm biased.
Right. So real quick, so give me the nomenclature again one more time. I want to post it in the chat here for those playing the home game. So 3-22.9, am I correct?
TC 3-22.9. Give me about 30 seconds. I'll actually post a direct link to download it.
Yeah, that'll be perfect. Yeah, that'll be perfect. So
while you're doing that, here's a dude not in the military, and I printed the fucker. Why? Why would a guy not in the military print and read and care about what's in this thing? Right? So one thing that I'll say, and I'll get a little preachy while he's typing, and then I'll let him answer this. I get really tired about people saying that those who have information, that information doesn't apply to them because they're not in their world of work or whatever, right? Like, what can a soldier teach a competitive rifle shooter? What can a civilian teach a soldier about shooting? What can a cop teach a soldier? What blah, 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 blah. Like, the color of clothing we wear matters based on our level of education or experience or learned knowledge on shooting guns or doing anything else. So this thing takes up two spiral bound things on my bookcase, right? Two of the thickens. How much of that spiral bound binder applies to Joe Civilian trying to learn how to better shoot a rifle?
Is that a question for me?
Yes, sir.
Two spiral bound. Are you talking about the 3-20.40 or the 322.9? Because
So this 322.9, I printed it.
Okay.
That says part 1 because my printer kept it on, and there's two of these binders, right? So I printed the whole thing. I've read it, right? How much of that do you think applies to people that are not in the military trying to learn to shoot rifles?
It depends. If you were running an AR pattern rifle and you have the enablers of an AR pattern rifle, specifically a red dot optic of the aim point variety or a Trijicon ACOG, and if you have, say, you probably don't, most people don't, but a PAS 13 thermal optic or a PEC 15 aiming laser, the entire book. But if you're just trying to learn how to run a rifle and it's a non-specific platform agnostic, start at chapter 5.
So there's still something that can be learned here, I think, is the key takeaway.
Correct.
Right. Wow. And I want to address a topic, right, or at least a point on the validity of this type of material. So there's a lot of contention, at least in small pockets, about what, there's memes about it when civilians, when they hear military grade and they're all excited, and, military, when they hear military grade, they're like, ah, shit. Right. So the reality of the situation is that there is, especially in the with the modernization of the industry, there is a large amount of contribution that actually goes. That's a bi-directional line of communication, right? Actually, if you talk to a lot of, if you're so lucky and acquaintanced with guys that have worked in special operations, guys that especially have been snipers in special operations communities, you'll come to find out that there's actually quite a few civilian instructors that they send their snipers to learn how to be snipers better. And I'm talking about true civilians, guys that have never served in their life, but they know so much shit. They are teaching, the best of the best, right? So one of the things that I really like about, especially when Army publications, just in general, and I'm going to use that term very loosely here, with Army publications, there's a couple of key things about it. One, they're written in a way that is very easily understood. Number two, if you do not have access to training nearby, maybe the budget does not prepare for it, and you are looking for ways to at least understand academically the skills and the techniques to build you a solid foundation, if you can get a hold of a U.S. military publication that covers that particular topic, you would be surprised at what you can learn. I know that there's a lot of people, especially with me, I come across a lot of guys that are maybe trying to teach their kids. And with kids, you don't necessarily need to make them, snipers, right? They don't need to reach that level of excellence just yet, but you want to give them that solid foundation, and you want to obtain that knowledge to convey to them in a very easily understood manner. The military publications do a great job breaking that down for people.
Yes. Considering most military publications are intentionally written on, I want to say, an 8th or a 10th grade reading comprehension level.
Yes.
And that's intentionally done. It's not because people are dumb, but it's because if you write something that scores, oh my God, on the Flesch-Kincaid scale, who wants to read it?
Flesch-Kincaid scale for the 10-point word of the night. Look at you.
Sorry.
I like it.
No, we've gone over Dunning-Kruger.
Sorry, it's something one of my guys introduced me to. He was like, "Hey man, when you're writing stuff, go into Word and go into review and open this up to see where you're at." And it's become a habit.
I love it, man. I'm telling you what, I'm feeling more and more professorial over the last year, and I got to tell you that just like I need a corncob pipe and a tweed sweater with some elbow pads right here. I'm going to bust out Flesch-Kincaid on some dude who's trying to explain parallax on SDI to me tomorrow. I'm absolutely going to do that. I'm telling you right now, that shit is coming out tomorrow on somebody. I don't know who it's going to be. But he's going to be like, Fleshlight? What? No, never mind. We're done. No.
Yep. But seriously, if you write something and it's Flesch-Kincaid, who wants to read it?
Yep, you're right.
Nobody. So, yeah, and it's I will say the words and terminology used is going to be different from what people that pick up the book and read the book are used to hearing. Just like when I read the book, when I read the draft, shot process, what's this? This isn't the fundamentals. No, but as I said, it goes beyond your rote learning and your bumper sticker slogans. And to your point, TJ, talking about, military and civilian, Ash has not made it a secret when he was developing his thoughts on the shot process as he was preparing to write it. And it was actually a lot of work he had done while he was in 10th Mountain. He had written a lot of it while he was up there, but it wasn't doctrine. So, and then he got the chance to make it doctrine and took full advantage of it. He talked to special operations dudes. There was some stuff in there that I think he got from Mike Pannone. There was I want to say I'm 98, 99% certain there was a heavy Caldor influence in it, in the way he approached things. He talked to competition guys, both civilian competition guys and, top Army shooter competition guys. And what he was doing was, okay, so you're setting up to take a shot. What are the things that you do? How do you approach it? And instead of using your rote checklist, it was building a process around how you approach taking a shot. So if you read the book, you will not find the word fundamental anywhere. And that is intentional because it's trying to go beyond the fundamental. And it's not that fundamentals are bad, it's the common understanding of how fundamentals work that leaves something to be desired. So if you've got a more teachable system that's not do this, do this, do this, it's a system and everything fits together, it leads to better teachability, and it leads to deeper understanding. One thing I have noticed is a lot of people, both in and out of the military, a lot of people have read the book, and I've spoken with people that have read the book. It's like, I don't know about this, because there seems to be this disconnect where some people think we just made up terms to replace the fundamentals. And that's not exactly where it was going. It's not this. The elements of the shot process are not the fundamentals. The shot process is the shot process, and there are pieces of it. So there's a distinct difference between the two, even though there's only so many different concepts and so many different ways to approach a problem. This is a different way of thinking about how you approach the problem.
Would it be fair to say that with regard to fundamentals and looking at, fundamentals versus a process, a defined and teachable process, would it be fair to make the generalization that fundamentals are important, but where they fall short is failing to convey how each of them work together as a refined process would, right?
I would say that's a very fair statement.
Right. So it sounds like by having a defined process, the shot process, it would probably make troubleshooting or identifying areas of weakness and failure points in that process a little bit more identifiable, and more thorough understanding of how one reacts to and fits together with the other.
Right.
Good stuff. See, I got a good brain. I told you, Kent.
I was going to say, man, for not being a firearms instructor, you sure are a firearms instructor. I'm trying to get TJ to get his ass up here and teach pistols and leave his IT life behind.
I'm a project manager. It's kind of what we do.
Okay, so come manage my projects and shoot guns. You got it. So we got a comment in the chat here. Mr. Lewis is an excellent teacher, vast knowledge, crucial component to this past weekend's match. Man, you paying dudes $10 to come on here and say nice shit. That's awesome.
Wait, is that how we get viewers? Because I missed that memo.
Yeah, I missed that entirely. That's perfect.
I didn't realize we could pay them. Like, shit, we'd be way more popular. Yeah, we'd be way more popular. So I did have to Google it because, well, I do spin an intelligent yarn once in a blue moon. I had to look up the Flesch-Kincaid definition. So essentially, for those playing the home game, it is a readability test to indicate how difficult a passage in English is to understand.
Right.
There is a Flesch-Kincaid a Flesch reading ease and a Flesch-Kincaid grade level test. So, okay. So was it written by guys like us, or was it written by Neil deGrasse Tyson?
Mike. No, yeah. We'll put Mike and Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah. Okay, we'll give Mike a few levels above us.
Knuckle dragger.
Dragger.
And thank you for your kind comments, Ben and Jordan.
Hang on a second now. I happen to know, because you were nice enough to spend a while pre-showing and prepping with me. You're a knuckle dragger with a couple degrees, aren't you?
A BA and an AS.
Okay.
So
Well, that's not knuckle dragger exactly.
you
And
would
you're
call.
working on a third one, aren't you?
Yes, I'm actually in a master's program for training and education. So basically, masters of adult learning.
Notice how I'm having to force Mike to brag on himself just a touch, right? I'm having to drag it out of him a little bit. So
It's not
I
complete yet, so it doesn't count.
Right. So I do want to point out, though, folks, like if you look at all of the fantastic instructors and contributors to the industry that we've had on this show, there has been a recurring theme here, and it's more than just guns. All of these people worth their salt are academics to the marrow, right?
absolutely.
So for a lot of you, like I hope you're picking up what we're putting down here, but don't just rely. Well, of course, we encourage going out to the flat range and getting that training, right? Getting that medical training, all that other stuff. There's a place where they hide a lot of this information, and it's called books. There's a lot you can learn from taking an academic or even a scientific approach to learning a lot of this information. Kent, we need to come up with that reading resources list, bro.
It is 2/3 of the way done, and it is way too long already.
There ain't no such thing as too long when you're talking about getting your learn on.
Dude, it's a freaking I've got a 7-page PDF already. greenmountaindefense.com/references is where this is going to be all about stuff I wish people should read. And it's not all gun guy shit.
Specific to the instructors out there, I've got one to add to the list.
Hell yeah, man.
I'm actually stand by. I want to make sure I get the title of the book correct. I had to read it for a class last semester. It's a long read, but it's a great read. Okay, I did have the correct title. Experiential learning. Experience as... Waiting for the link to pop up. Experience as the Source of Learning and Development by David A. Kolb. Kolb. Long book, but specific to the instructors out there. And it's, good for anybody to read if you're into learning. But experiential learning is huge. And if you're an instructor, you need to read about experiential learning.
Interesting.
I got it open in a browser window, and I'll be buying my copy by the time we're wrapping up after the show tonight. That one wasn't on my list. I'll admit a touch of hubris. I was sitting here going, oh, yeah, it's probably on the list already. Nope, it's not, so I'm buying it.
It wouldn't have been on my list either unless it was required reading for a course, but I'm glad I read it.
Right. Hell yeah, man. I appreciate that. He's either knowingly shortcutting to the end of the show or he doesn't know, but we ask for recommended reading for everybody that comes on here. So you got your you got your hits in a little early. I like that.
Can't just post the link. We'll make sure it gets into the description.
Yeah, man. That's awesome. So we'll be doing that long reading list, but it's everything from Seeklander's book to Talent Code to Left of Bang to, there's all kinds of good shit on there. Just, my mom's a high school teacher, so I've been hitting her up about, educational resources and all kinds of good stuff. So it's going to be a long list.
Talent Code's good. I haven't read Seeklander's book, so I can't say.
You never read The Art of Instruction by Seeklander?
No, I haven't. I've been all over the place. Haven't gotten to that one. Talent Code, great book. Left of Bang, good book. I had the good experience of being able to go through the ASAT course.
Gotcha.
So the book really took root after going through the advanced situational awareness training, the 40-hour course, not the 160 or whatever it is, but that's great stuff. So yeah, both of those books concur 100%.
That's awesome. It's I'll have to I'll email it to you. I'll let you. really be interested in your feedback on it. So you've got a couple fans in the chat. I'm being told to ask you about weaponized autism.
Todd. It's got to be either Todd or Jason. Let me see.
It is
Look how I
Todd.
said weaponized autism, and he knew who it was. He's like, "Oh, that's Todd."
Yep. That was a term given either by Todd or Jason. I think it was Jason, and Todd ran with it. Funny thing on that one is math, dealing with ballistic math and doing machine gun stuff. And he mentioned Conan Crom, actually shortcutted, or either of you, I'm sure you are. I'm sure you're familiar. Do either of you use the mill relation formula to determine distance to a target?
I have, yes. I am not good at it. There's a reason I have a smartphone.
Okay.
But yes, I am familiar with it.
Well, what that was is I was sitting around one day and looking at things and playing with numbers, and short-circuited and shortcut the mill relation formula, and can't claim that I invented it, because nothing is new under the sun. To quote Steve Fisher, always cite your sources. Nothing's new under the sun. But it's like, what if I did this and this and this? I can cut out these steps and get my distance to target faster. And it worked. And started looking at my variables and my constants, and named the formula Crom. So that's the Conan the Barbarian reference Todd threw out.
Gotcha. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. So what comes to the image that's playing through my mind is like you at the range doing some beautiful mind type shit, and you're like, wait a second, this is way too hard. And you just like erase the whole middle, and you're like, oh, A equals B. Got it.
I wouldn't call it beautiful minds, because I'm the guy that failed Algebra 1 once, took it again and passed geometry, and then failed Algebra 2 twice and had to take it in summer school to get into college.
Right. I feel you, Matt.
The formulas didn't work. So
all praise be to Google. Right.
So the math didn't work. You figure out a way that makes the math work, and you get Crom.
I love how. So my mother was an algebra teacher. That's what she taught forever and ever and ever. And I, too, was terrible at algebra, to the point where she taught in a different school. But one day I came home, I said, Mom, I think I need an algebra tutor. And she said, you sit your ass down at that table, boy. Oh, shit. And Mom became my algebra tutor, right? And I got through high school algebra because of Mom. No shit. And now, here we are all these years later, and I'm, explaining concepts to people that are mathematical in nature through shooting. And she's like, oh, I get it. When you get to blow shit up, all of a sudden you pay attention, don't you? I'm like,
yes.
Well, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
That's funny enough. That's when I got interested in math. Was we had opportunity training with some SF guys that, this SF engineer dude is neighbors with one of the squad leaders in my platoon, and they got a demo range and said, hey, you want to bring some boys out? And he's giving us explosives formulas, and math became very interesting really quick.
It's amazing how that works, though, isn't it? Yeah. Like, okay, you're going to sit in this class. We're going to drone on for an hour and a half about the Pythagorean theorem and all this other stuff, and mix letters and numbers together and expect you to come up with the answer. And your eyes glaze over, your nose starts to bleed, and you forget who you are for a half hour. Probably piss your pants. At least that was my experience. Your mileage may vary. But you start putting it into terms that people can relate to, things that interest them, right? Like, I'm pretty sure that in any other industry, you take like somebody who's an entrepreneur, somebody who wants to run a business, right? Sit through high school algebra, bomb it. But they're interested in business and finance and running a company. And you start explaining to them the same formulas, but relate them to that industry. and they'll stick to it like glue. It's amazing how that works. But yeah, I wanted nothing to do with, calculus and trigonometry until I started shooting past 50 yards.
Yeah.
Right.
The kid that couldn't pass algebra 2 is now doing ballistic math on the fly.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny how that works.
Yeah. You just gotta find you gotta find your Rain Man inspiration, right?
Mm-hmm.
Take a guy that can, otherwise socially awkward in every way, weaponized autism, to use the term of the night, right? Guys severely autistic, you put it behind a craps table or a blackjack table, and you're a multimillionaire all of a sudden, right? It's amazing how the human brain works that way.
My wife was watching Big Bang Theory right before I got on the show, so I'm just picturing Sheldon with a rifle. I like the imagery. I really do.
We're just gonna sit here and quietly reflect on that image of Sheldon Cooper with a Shy-Tech.
That's gonna become a meme.
If it hasn't, it should. Damn it.
Yes.
DJ, that's your job. Meme that, would you?
I'll do my best.
Mike, real quick, unless you have anything else to say about your military time or experience or that part of your world, let's move you into talking about competitive shooting a little bit. And then we'll round the show off with talking about Canebrake, which is your self-promotion and your opportunity to really talk through. Not in a, I'm not asking you for a minute 30 plug. I want you to talk about Canebrake for a minute, really go into it.
Okay.
But first, let's talk a little bit about, since we got some dudes that are on here that are talking about you ROing matches and shooting matches and these matches. Something tells me we're not talking about a USPSA match, are we? So why don't you take me out of my life and put me into your life? And are we talking about quantified performance?
We're talking about quantified performance, and what do you know? What is the common theme here? Ash Hess.
Well, look at that.
And the funny thing is, while we were both in uniform, and then after I retired, while he was still in uniform before he retired, people looked at us as being anti-competition because, we're combat dudes. We're not, as Ash used to put it, we're not ballistic golf dudes. We're combat dudes. However, I'm actually the guy that started, or restarted, we should say, because it was there and then it died, a competitive weapons program within the 82nd Airborne Division. Why? Because if you give people an outlet that makes them want to go do things and get good at things, and it relates to their job, if they get good at it so they can win cool, shiny things to put on their uniform, they're going to transfer that back to their job. The problem is when you see guys that, gamer this, gamer that, gamer this, gamer that. And there's a lot to be said for competition. There absolutely is. But you can't game up a gunfight. There are things that apply. There are things that don't apply. There are things that transfer. There are things that don't transfer. And that goes for both sides of the coin. But yeah, after Ash got out, he started this thing called Quantified Performance, working with Jack, also of Knights Armament. And they worked together and they stood this thing up, and they've done now 5 matches. All of them so far have been at the arena training facility down in Blakely, Georgia. Beautiful facility, great ranges. And Ash's thing is shoot far, shoot fast. That's because, he had gotten into the PRS gas gun series, which kind of went away. Quantified Performance kind of came out not long after. And they put you in some very, very, at times, funky shooting positions. They give you not small targets. You know, we're not talking 1 to 1.5 to 2 minute targets. We're talking, he said he wants to keep it around 3-minute targets. Okay. But
All right.
but a 3-minute target when you're finding stability or trying to find stability off of a staircase. A 3-minute target when you're trying to shoot off of the hood of a gator. A 3-minute target, one of the stages, not my stage this time, but one of the stages had a platform that was suspended at the corners by 4 chains.
I just we did a match like that a couple
Yeah.
months ago. What a motherfucker that thing was. That could have been a 428-minute target. I'd have still missed that bastard.
And the stages this time, I got to give props. Jace and Eddie Whitehead, they ran this match under the watchful eye of Ash and Jack, and they are now quote unquote quantified performance certified match directors. And Eddie and Jace came up with some spectacular stages. But again, 3-minute targets on average, and these targets are anywhere from I've shot under match conditions anywhere from 100 to 1,100 yards. And we're seeing guys come out with 224 Valkyries. We're seeing guys come out with 308s, seeing guys with 6.5 Creed. There was some 6 Creed, some 6 Arc there this time, and a heavy presence of 5.56 guns. And most of the dudes running 5.56 guns are running LPVOs on them. And that's actually one of the classes is the GP, I think, is the class. And it's you're running no more than an 18-inch barrel with no more than an 8-power optic. I run a 6-power optic, and my deepest successful hit under match conditions was an IPSC at 856 yards 2 matches ago. And taking a shot at 856 yards on IPSC steel with a 16-inch 5.56 gun and a 6-by optic, that's pretty challenging.
I'm gonna tell you right now, I got one upstairs. That ain't happening. Not in this house. You're a better man than I. If I'm touching something at 500 with that rifle, I'm a happy dude. Not like so. Those that don't compete, I compete in pistol competitions mostly, but people that don't compete, you say match conditions. It's one thing to go out on a Sunday and relax with your boys and sit down at the bench, and talk a while, and just do everything you can not to be at the house and like doing whatever the old lady tells you to do because you've been at the range for 6 hours, that kind of thing. And you could make that shot in that environment. But when that freaking Star Trek brain scrambler, otherwise known as a shot timer, makes a noise, holy shit. You're lucky for me to point the gun in the right direction, let alone hit anything at 850. God damn.
I will say it sounds challenging, and to all intents and purposes it is. But a lot of it comes down to, I think, one, having the resources to go out and actually test your configuration, right? Couple of months ago, I would have told you straight up, engaging IPSC steel at 500 yards with my 5.56 rifle and an LVPO, wasn't in the cards. Sure as shit, I actually took some time out. I was like, you know what? I'm going to take some factory ammo, and I'm going to sit here at this range, and I'm going to start I'm going to aim center mass, and I'm going to keep going until I know where my holdover is at 500, and I'll be damned if I didn't find it. Now, with that being said, pause for dramatic effect. Doing that shit from a staircase, completely different critter.
That stage was not from a staircase. That stage was prone, but not all of them with 800-yard targets are.
Right. Right. Yeah. The holdover's there. The holdover's there. You got to practice with it. Practice with it. Know your equipment, and that includes knowing your optics.
Yep.
Right. You got all these guys that spend a lot of time tuning that round, getting the velocity they want out of it, making sure that it's got the ballistic coefficient they want. Yep. But they'll think they're hot shit and they'll take it out on paper. They'll get their ballistic data. They'll fill out their smart sheets and their dope cards and all that other stuff, but they won't actually pressure test their configuration with their optic. What will it actually do when you try to put it on steel at 5, 6, 7, 800 yards? Totally doable.
It's funny that you mentioned that because I need to upgrade my optic. And it's not that my optic is a bad optic. It's a spectacular optic. But the problem is I've hit the point where I'm reaching my physical limitations with my equipment.
Right.
Long story short, unbeknownst to me, at 39 years old, I went to see the eye doc and say, hey, dude, my vision's kind of foggy. I don't know what's going on. Oh, yeah, you got cataracts in both eyes. Oh, shit. We're going to send you to the ophthalmologist. And the ophthalmologist said, yeah, you got cataracts in both eyes and an astigmatism in your right eye, which is my firing eye. Okay. He's like, have you had TBIs? Yeah. Well, that's what caused it. Because I was thinking, cataracts, dude, that's for old people. I'm 39 years old. But at 39 years old, I had eye surgery on my left eye, my non-firing eye, to remove a cataract. The one in the right eye is still there because it's not at the point where it affects me enough to assume the risk of having the surgery and risk something going wrong. But with a 6x optic, I'm really working. Mm-hmm. If I'm trying to shoot groups at 100, I can see my target just fine. But to get that really defined, crisp sight picture where I want my bullet to go, even at 100 yards or 100 meters with a 6x optic, I'm really working for it. Which means I need to bump up and go to a 1:8 LPVO or potentially, say a Vortex 1:10 LPVO. And that's not because my equipment is not capable. It's because I'm buttoned up against my physical limitation with the mechanical whatever. So there comes a point, and for every person it's different. You'll reach a point where you're bumping up against the physical limitation, whether it's your body or whether it's your equipment. But you have to work enough and you have to build enough proficiency and build enough knowledge to know when you're bumping up against that ceiling and, okay, I'm bumping against the ceiling. What do I need to do? Is it me? Is it my equipment? Is it a combination of the two? And for me, it's me with my equipment tells me I need new glass.
Yep.
Hopefully that makes sense.
No, that makes perfect sense. And it's actually, it's even one that we preach here. It's certainly an undertone, right? If you don't know, it's no different than diagnosing a problem with a vehicle, right? If you don't truly understand your vehicle, you're going to have problems with it. You're going to take it to a mechanic. You'd be like, man, this thing's just screwed up. It's always a problem. It's a lemon. I got a bad deal, whatever have you. And you end up buying a new vehicle. But if you would have taken the time to study how that vehicle operates, you would have realized you just had bad gas in it. Mm-hmm. Right? You've got to know this stuff and be able to identify and troubleshoot what the real issues are. It's to say, I mean, we all see it. You go to the range and there's always, man, this gun doesn't hit shit. I couldn't hit the broadside of a barn if you locked me in it. You take somebody that knows what the hell they're doing, they pick up the same gun and you get the one ragged hole at 20 yards, right? You got to know your equipment because it will tell you by taking that level of interest in the human and firearm relationship, that operating system, if you will, it will help you to be honest with what limitations you might be having and what might actually be an equipment. Maybe you did get a lemon, but you'll be able to verify that.
Quantified. Funny how that word comes out.
Right.
That's a thing behind.
It shoots low and left. Every time I miss your pistol, it shoots low and to the left.
Why does yours always shoot high and right?
I want you to adjust some of your sights on that pistol for me. I got one of them red dots. Now it's slow up close. I can't find a fucker, and it shoots low and left.
Yep. But you know, Kent, that's another side of quantified performance. That's why I threw that out there. It's quantified. It's not just competitive. If you know, there's a members group, and you know, it's a pay to play. You've got to pay to join, and I think it's like $12 a year. It's you know, crazy how much it doesn't cost. But
thank God we got them stimmy checks.
Yes, but with $12 a year, you get a discount on the match fees if you choose to go to the match, and you get access to, you know, Ash puts out stuff through his Patreon. He's got Joe Plandowski, who's, you know, he's clinical psychology stuff, and he was actually at the match Friday before the match started on Saturday, talking about mental processes and adaptive versus maladaptive thinking, and how to increase your performance through your thought processes and your adaptive thinking. You know, joining quantified performance gives you access to these things, and Ash is doing a little bit of stuff with some other human performance personalities and subjects like physical fitness, and then Joe with the psychology stuff. And you'll see, if you join the members group, you'll see people posting pictures of their groups saying, look what I shot this weekend. And you'll see a dude that shot a 4-minute group, and people are like, hey man, that's great, you're progressing. And you'll see a dude that's shooting a 1/2-minute group, and people are like, hey man, that's great, how did you get there? And it's just the community involved, and you're quantifying your performance, you're quantifying what your equipment is doing, and it makes everybody involved better.
You know, it's funny that you keep all of this stuff about the quantifying and the scientific analysis and all that stuff. Yeah, I'm gonna tell a short story on myself, because I've actually gotten asked this question recently. What got me so interested in firearms? What got me so interested in shooting? Show of hands, how many people here like Mythbusters? Right? The sciencey shit, the engineering and chemistry and mechanics and just the overall development of those processes, the scientific aspects of shooting is what really interested me. Like how you can take the exact same rifle, exact same projectile, same brass, same primer, everything, change the powder you use, or even transversely, change the primer. Something that minuscule, that what used to be at least a couple of months ago a 3-cent piece of equipment or component that would go into the rear end of your casing, and you will deviate the whole shot group. Could deviate the whole shot group, right? It's amazing what really started that. So yeah, I'm really interested, especially with the clinical psychology, what aspects and what nuggets of information that he might discover in his approach to things.
Well, I think it was Jordan that said he's an absolute gem, and I absolutely concur.
Yeah, I that being said, I probably should not be on the range with a clinical psychologist. There's some shit that I just don't want to talk about. But
no shit, right?
It's like, yeah, so I'm trying to get this magazine won't quite seat properly. How do you feel about your mother? Do we got to go there right now? So, yeah.
Your mother fed me and is an amazing woman. How dare you speak poorly of her?
You only met her once.
Fair enough. Oh my God. Fair enough. So these QP matches are these going to start being hosted other places than the arena?
You would have to talk to Ash, but I will say I certainly hope so. I would love to see quantified performance sanctioned matches in the Mid-Atlantic, because I'll tell you, Blakely, Georgia, I love going down there for the matches. But dude, I got home at 3:20 Monday morning and had to go to work at 7:30.
That's going to be a 5 days awful work for me. That's going to be a bitch.
So-
I'm going to try to do one.
And I loved it, and it was worth it 120%. But if I could do 2 of those a year down there, and then shoot or RO 1 or 2 a year, say in the Carolinas or Virginia, that'd be great, man. That's 4 weekends a year that I'm not getting in trouble with my wife, and I'm hanging out with good people doing good things and solving ballistic problems. That's just a good time.
Well, Kent, it's 6 hours for me and 14 hours for you.
Honestly, I saw Cam was sharing the stuff, and I almost signed up for it until I realized I was already teaching a pistol class. So there's that whole thing.
The next one you should.
Make money or spend money. Make money or spend money. I think I'll make money.
Sometimes you got to
next
spend
one
money
you
to make
should.
money, though.
Stop it with
you know,
business museums.
Another thing I'll say about the QP matches is having done, nothing big, no regionals or nothing like that, but local club matches here in the Carolinas. You show up for the match Saturday morning, you shoot the match, you help clean up the range and whatever, and you go home. And it's a good time. But the QP matches, this is a weekend-long fellowship with guns. People roll in with campers. The arena, they got cabins that people rent. And it's a weekend-long event. You shoot, you hang out, you shoot, and it's just good times with excellent people. That's not to take anything away from any other match anywhere else, but it's not just a match, it's an experience.
That has been my that has been my firearms industry journey so far. I have yet to get in with a group of dudes who sucked. I've honestly, I've either been like super lucky or I don't know what, but every time I've done something like this, I've always been better and more glad for the experience. You got a bunch of dudes in the comments are like, come on, let's go. Like, I'm coming. I'll do it. I promise. I really will. We'll get one worked out.
I'll hold them accountable, folks. We'll make one down. We need to make just a trip out of it, man. We'll film the whole thing.
Yeah, fuck it. We'll do it for the show. We'll put up stuff. We'll do a thing. It'll be good. We should absolutely do that.
I'll tell you what, man. If it's even half as good as the DRM match that Cam put on, it's going to be dare I say, a straight up hootenanny, borderline hoedown.
You will not be disappointed.
I like it.
Well, Mike, he was supposed to meet me in South Carolina for that match that Cam put on, but his truck decided to take a shit.
Dude, my truck. I was like packed up coming to the match. I was not a happy guy. I was already, fuck you, Ford. Fuck you.
I actually wanted to go to that match too, but had to do work things that weekend. So
yeah,
it sucked, but my kids would have been upset if I couldn't put food on the table.
TJ, no shit.
You're gonna be hungry.
Whatever. Since that happened, TJ, and we disabled that system in the truck, I've never had a problem again. If you have a Ford and it has that stupid auto stop thing, unplug the fuse that goes to the auxiliary transmission pump. You'll never have a problem again. It also won't auto stop, but who gives a fuck?
Mm-hmm.
Get rid of that whole system. Just take it out. Yeah, haha, Todd. LOL Ford. I know. It's got 93,000 miles on it, a rooftop tent, and a shitload of brass in it. Leave me alone.
My Tundra with 350,000 miles on it made it no problem.
I hate you. Just kids. Oh, God. So, Mike, real quick, have you competed in other stuff that our audience would be familiar with? Have you competed in IDPA, USPSA, 3-gun, any other?
I've dabbled in IDPA. It's been a while because other things got in the way, primarily work. and then work and school, but dabbled in IDPA.
How do you look at a fishing vest?
That was.
I'm glad you broke
Yeah.
because I can't believe you kept a straight face that long asking that question.
You know, the funny thing about it was last time I shot an IDPA match, I showed up running IWB with a T-shirt. And
Me
stepped
too.
up to the first stage, and the RO's looking at me like, "Okay, dude, yeah, I'm ready, man. Okay, load and make ready." And my T-shirt came up, and he was like, "Oh, whatever, man."
I'm that guy. I will be the reason they switch to appendix carry if they ever do.
USPSA already made him irrelevant, bro.
Oh, I know. And now
Yeah.
I'm going to shoot a shitload of USPSA because of that.
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah. Competing is competing. It's certainly one of those things that more people should do.
Yeah, like long range matches, Kent.
Oh, Georgia might as well be Texas for me, but I'm coming. I'll get down there. We'll absolutely do it.
Well, see, you fly down to Nashville.
Ooh.
And you and me make a road trip out of it.
I like this. Boats and hose. This could be another boats and hose week. This could go.
Or we can take the Jeeps. We'll make it a thing.
We'll go Jeep in and shoot. See, he's appealing to the off-road redneck side of me. I like this a lot.
We can cut the sleeves off your shirt. You can stay married to Soph and marry a sister, and you complete the package. Maybe get a restraining order or two. I don't know. We might not have time for all of that, but we can make something work.
Oh my God. So, as the most beautiful segue that could have possibly been segued, let's ask Mr. Mike to promote himself a little bit. We just went from restraining orders and marrying sisters. Now let's ask about Canebrake Consulting and see where that goes. What the fuck could possibly go wrong? So, Mike, real quick, I know Canebrake Consulting because I know your zero offset tool.
Yes.
So that's how I know you. That's how you are in my universe. How should I know you? What should I know about your training company that I don't know? How can I host you? All that good stuff. Let's talk training stuff.
Training stuff. First, I'll tell you what I told you, the first time we actually spoke. It's been a long while since I've done anything open enrollment for multiple reasons. My start in the training industry, as it were, was as a CCW guy. And it's like, hey, I'm in the Army. I carry a gun for a living. I can do this. And found out very quickly with some of the friends and mentors that I met how much I did not know. Overconfident with underwhelming training is a thing. Dunning-Kruger is a thing, and learned very quickly. But you know what? I was already in the game. I'm doing CCW stuff, whatever, and did that for a couple years, and it was good and it was fun. And tried to do a couple of open enrollment pistol classes. Not only could I not fill a class, I couldn't get a single sign up at that time. And let's call it what it was. It's a nobody trying to get people to come train with them in Fayetteville, North Carolina, where, well, the personalities that live here in the training industry, it's a no-brainer. And it actually probably did me a favor because I wasn't ready for the big time and didn't realize it. But it is what it is. And at some point woke up and said, you know what? I don't believe in this anymore. This being the CCW game. I don't believe in being part of a system that requires people to spend their money and take a day out of their life to go see a guy who gives them a certificate that says this individual has been trained, and seeing they pass the rest of the background check, they should be eligible to carry a weapon in their own defense. And then pay the state for the privilege of exercising their rights. I don't believe in that. I do believe wholeheartedly that training is an individual responsibility. if you have a firearm or if you plan to have a firearm, it is incumbent on you as a responsible human being and a responsible citizen to seek training. But it's not something that the state should require of you. So I stopped doing it. And, Army things, and then post-Army things with work, and then post-Army things with work and school. It just wasn't in the cards to do classes. What I have done is gone back to school to better prepare myself as a teacher, trainer, educator, whatever you want to call it, to provide more for my students and my clients. My major focus right now is military, but that, and that's to give back and to help and support the warfighter. But by no means does that mean that I wouldn't be interested if somebody said, "Hey man, we want to do a carbine class." Okay, cool. When and what are you looking for? Are you looking for basic stuff or basic stuff? Because there's no such thing as advanced marksmanship. The only thing advanced about what people call advanced marksmanship is an advanced understanding and application of basic principles. So do you want basic stuff or do you want basic stuff at a higher level? I'd be completely open to it, but I haven't done it. So there's that. For those in the military, I do have course curriculum written for carbine operators course, a machine gun university, and for what I call the small arms instructors course. But it's actually not a small arms instructors course. It's, TJ, what was your rank when you got out, if you don't mind me asking?
I was a specialist E4.
You're a specialist E4. Okay, so you can tell me if you have or have not ever heard the primary responsibility of the non-commissioned, the primary responsibility of the non-commissioned officer is training soldiers.
Yes.
So that's what the small arms instructor course is set up for. It is to better prepare, not that they don't have an idea of what they're doing, but to better prepare using adult learning theories, teaching methodologies, so on and so forth, better prepare them to be trainers and educators for their personnel. But it uses small arms and weapons proficiency as a vehicle, because that's a core skill for everybody in the Army. Everybody in the Army, you got to qualify with your assigned weapon, unless you're, very, very, very certain things like a conscientious objector, you don't carry a weapon, or a chaplain doesn't carry a weapon. Other than that, you have to train and qualify with your assigned weapon. So it uses a vehicle that everybody has to do, everybody's somewhat familiar with, to better prepare that non-commissioned officer to be a trainer and educator for his personnel. His or her, I'm sorry.
Wait a minute. Conscientious objectors are real things still?
Yes, in my company in 2004, 2005, when we went to Iraq, we had a conscientious objector in the company, and he was a medic. He was a medic, and he went out on every mission with the boys. He just didn't carry a gun. And he did good work, and he kept people alive.
I, on the other hand, had two in my unit during my second deployment in 0607, and they were complete shitbags. They were not medics.
Mm.
Huh.
Yeah, straight up refused to do everything, just up and quit. Now, they spent the remainder of their deployment doing shit work. But, yeah. No weapon. Refused to do their duty. It is still very much a thing, man.
I thought that was some bullshit from MASH.
Nope.
Nope. I know so very little about the military. Every time I talk to somebody, I learn more shit. I didn't know that. No idea.
Yeah. Now,
But you know,
to Mike's
the
point,
one we had, the one we had. He was a medic, and he did great work, and he kept some of my friends alive. I would never think of looking at him in a negative light because he's a conscientious objector and didn't carry a weapon. He did his job.
Huh.
Excuse me. I tried to mute in
Bless
time. But yeah, actually, if you look at, the case in point, Desmond Doss from Hacksaw Ridge, or of Hacksaw Ridge fame, perfect example of, what, at least in my mind, what I would consider an acceptable conscientious objector would be, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm still going to do my job. I'm still going to serve my brothers and sisters to the left and right of me. I just refuse to fight. I refuse to carry a weapon. Nothing wrong with that. But yeah, there is sadly a fine line between, like, the dyed-in-the-wool conscientious objectors, call them pacifists, just opposed to the violence. They still want to do their job, still support their friends and their family. And then you got those complete cowards that are just like, fuck this. I know I made commitments, but screw you guys. I'm going to look out for me and me alone. And the worst place to do that is Iraq.
Yeah.
Like, figure that shit out before you deploy.
Yeah.
Right. So, yep.
My goodness. Man, I expected to learn some shit tonight. I didn't expect that would be it. I did not know that. Very, very interesting. So through Canebrake, why don't you talk a little bit about your zero offset tool?
Okay.
While we're still on Canebrake. So what is the zero offset tool?
The zero offset tool. Actually, I'm going to pull out a target to put a backstop to the zero offset tool. The zero offset tool, for those looking who haven't seen it before, this was designed primarily for military uses, but also with law enforcement in mind, and it's applicable to the civilian world. Reason being, the Army and the Marine Corps have used a reduced range zero for years through what's called a matched pair. Matched pair is ballistically, if you zero for this distance, your bullet's going to cross your sight plane at this distance on the near side because gravity and those types of things. So you're matched pair. The Army uses 25 meter zero, but with the gun bullet combination, and even with the gun bullet combination, if it were a case where 25 matches 300, it would only match 300 in certain environmental conditions. But as it were, the gun bullet combination, 25 does not equal 300. So what I did was took the ballistics, and again, environmental considerations come into play, this and that and the other. And the math for this is based on a 14.5-inch M4 barrel with M855 Alpha 1 ammunition. And it's using the front of the target. This is a mill version of the Alpha 8 target. If you see the diamond, that is your point of aim. And if you're trying to achieve a 300 meter zero at 25, your point of impact should be in the center of the gray circle on the gray dot. Or if you want a 200 meter zero, it should be in the red circle on the red dot. Or if you want a 100 meter zero, it should be in the blue circle on the blue dot. But don't think you're complete there. All zeros should be confirmed and refined at true distance. This is just developed to get you close, get you really close, or if you don't have access to a true distance range, say you're on a combat outpost or a FOB or something, and I got to confirm my zero, go confirm your zero and it'll get you really close and you'll be okay. Again, for law enforcement applications, most cops may or may not have access to a 100-yard range. The civilian world, how many of us have ready access to a 200-yard range or a 300-yard range? And the answer is not many. Most people in the civilian world have 25 or 50 or 100-yard or meter capability.
That's right.
I'm lucky in my area that within a couple of hours drive, I've got 2 local clubs that I can get to 300. A couple other local clubs I can get to 200, and within a couple of hours drive I can shoot. Let's see, I can go to 6 at this one place. I can go to 8 at another place. I can get a grand at another place. But to get 1,000-yard range, I need to drive 2.5, 3 hours from the house. A lot of people, they got to drive that far to get a 300-yard range. So it's a reduced range zeroing that will get you close, but confirm and refine at true distance if you can.
So, if I may, for the civilian firearms instructor who gets the occasional request to help somebody with rifle stuff, it's also a damn nice tool to help somebody whose shot process, I'll change my vernacular, I almost said fundamentals, but I won't, whose shot process aren't quite up to the task to where at this point shooting at 200 really doesn't make a whole lot of sense yet, right? But they want to know they're shooting to true zero. And while it would potentially be easier, quote unquote, for me to grab the dude's rifle and zero it for him, what is he actually learning about his system? And how much, we were talking experiential learning. How much is he really getting out of me zeroing his gun for him? Not a whole shitload, right? So, other than maybe false confidence, because that's what it is. So, in this event, hey man, can we bag your gun up good enough to get a no shit decent grouping at 25 out of you right now? And can we do 10 reps of dry fire, 1 rep live, breathe, go back to 10 reps of dry fire? Can we get some no shit how to press a trigger without disturbing the sights going on up in this motherfucker and help you towards a zero and give you a visual aid for you to get an understanding of what offset looks like and why all this happens in the first place? I'll tell you what, it works out pretty good in that little arena. That's my whole, if you ever find me teaching rifle shit, that'll be about the extent of it. That and some basic personal defense rifle stuff and some very limited private clientele stuff. But man, what a great tool for just that.
Thank you.
And that and those of us who live in this world, I always know I'm going to have a bay. I just don't know what bay it's going to be all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Can I zero my gun? Sure we can, but there's 10 spots on a long distance bay. So we can wait 3 hours to go over there and work on the long distance bay. Mm-hmm. Or we can pick one of these other bays and do some work a while. What would you rather do? Right. Well, now we can confirm your zero. And when I ask you what your zero is and you spit out something, probably something you got from Light Fighter or God knows where else on the internet. And I say, hey, what was your zero? And you go, 5,200, sir. And I'm like, easy, bro. You don't have to salute me. And also, is it really? And they go, well, yeah. And I'm like, is it really a 5,200? And they say, sure it is. And I said, well, great. This little translucent piece of plastic here is going to show me if you've got a 200-yard zero or not. And we don't have to go all the way up there and wait. We can do it right here, right now. Let's see what we got.
Now, with that, I will say the math is based around a 14.5 barrel with a 62 grain 855 Alpha 1.
Sure.
You will see differences. Like when I took my 16-inch out with the 77 grain load I use for precision or semi-precision work, as it were. Doing it, okay, I'm going to true this out. And I trued it out, and the zero tool with my 16-inch barrel and my 77 grain load was about 1 minute off. So is it absolutely close enough for me to do good work with? Oh yeah, it is. but it was a minute off because the math is different. But let's face it, if you're at the point where you're seeing a 1 minute difference at 200 yards, that's 2 inches.
That's a good problem to have for most people.
You know, I'm if you're at the point where you're seeing a 1 minute difference, you're doing okay. And that is easily fixed when you get your group at that true distance. Oh, I'm 1 minute off. Okay, no problem. Click, click, done. But you don't waste time chasing your groups at true distance trying to find out where you are to begin with.
Sure. So if you go up with a 16-inch gun and XM 193, and you tell me you have a 200-yard zero, and we set that sumbitch up, and we measure it out, and I give you a little, square little dot with my nice, blue tire pen. I don't know why I just discovered tire pens. Did you guys know that the pens for marking automotive tires were the world's best range pens? Anybody tell you that? Okay, holy shit. The tires that you can go to Pep Boys and buy for marking the insides of automotive tires to know which is left front and, for tire rotations are the world's greatest range pen. That some bitch is fluorescent blue and you can see it from outer space. So now I draw you a nice little 1-inch square where your impact should be, and I draw you another square in another color where your point of aim should be. And you whack me off a 3 or 5 shot group. Shut up, Jordan. I know I said whack me off.
I was gonna, damn it.
You whack me off a 5-shot group, and that some bitch is 3 inches left and 7 inches low where it's supposed to be. And I do one of these, right? What's the deal, man? Like, cool. So I understand we're talking minutes, and you can tell me exactly how many 1.02657 is actually in a minute of angle. And no, that's not the real number. I don't know what it is, but there is a
1.047.
Okay, cool. I knew you'd know it. Weaponized autism. Point being, man, if you're telling me you're in the ballpark and you ain't even in the same city the ballpark's in, now we know we got some freaking turnies and some twisties to put on that optic before we even worry about what else is going on. I do at least know that much.
Yeah. I just wanted to throw that out there so we don't have somebody say, well, your shit doesn't work. I was 3 inches off at 200. Okay, this is what the math was based on. If you're running a different system, you will find a difference, but it's probably going to be pretty minor. So
yeah. No, I see. I knew it. Jordan's over here making whack off comment. I stepped into that headlong. I really did.
Just keep them coming. We need T-shirt ideas.
You should have seen Jordan and the boys at QP. I'm telling you.
Yeah, were they doing some whacking off at QP?
It's a running Nickelodeon joke, I'm sure.
Ask Todd.
I love it. So, Christ, I don't know if we saved the best or the worst for last, but we did. We got to talk a little bit about this nonsense mass shooting that happened yesterday, and none of us wants to do. Real quick, for those of you who are listening and hearing the sound of my voice or whatever. At no point do the people who generate content in the firearm space sit here and go, boy, I hope somebody shoots up a fucking Kroger so we have something to talk about on Tuesday night. I very much wish we didn't have this to talk about, but we do. So I'm going to lead off, and I'm going to say what I said to TJ earlier today on the phone, which was this. If you find yourself in the middle of a mass casualty event, and the only tool you can think to reach for is your cell phone. And in the moment that you think to reach for that tool, you decide to use it to film, to increase your Instagram followership, instead of fucking calling for help. I swear to God, don't ever let me meet you in person, because I will grab you with my 2 fingers by the nostrils and introduce your head to the nearest blunt object until I can't swing my arm anymore. I'm so goddamn sick and tired of this. These assholes whipping out their fucking phones instead of doing any version of any good. That is literally all I have to say about this. I'm not going to Monday morning quarterback it. I'm not going to talk about who could have done what or where. I'm not going to. God bless you, those of you that are law enforcement in that area. Lost another man. I'm so sorry to hear that. I have nothing else to say, but if you find yourself in the middle of the worst event in your life and you can think to do nothing but pop up Instagram stories, you are a piece of shit. I'm sorry. We don't need your video. The world's covered in video. There's more angles from that store than the cops could ever need. You didn't help nobody. Instead of sticking that phone in the old man's face and saying, call 911, you should have been calling 911 with one hand while you were helping him to his vehicle with the other hand, or doing any number of other productive things. I'm so sick of seeing this. And that's where I'll leave it. Mike, I know we mentioned before, and you said you had some stuff on this. You did a little research.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear your take on it. I'm sorry that your episode became this episode, but here we are.
I'm sorry that it's any episode.
Fair enough.
I'm sorry that it's any episode. This shit should not happen. And if you're a person that takes any weapon, whether it be a blade, a club, a car, a gun, an explosive device, and you go out with the intent of causing a mass casualty incident of innocence, you are worse than a piece of shit. You deserve to have your existence wiped from the annals of history and have an unmarked grave where your bones have been crushed to dust and you have been left for nothing. Also, if you do nothing better than film to boost your followership, you're a piece of shit. As you said, Kent, you're a piece of shit. Now let's look at the other side of it. Everybody wants to say, let those affected have their peace. Don't politicize it. I believe that. I believe that those who have been affected should be in our thoughts. They should have our sympathies. Their families should have their sympathies. They have mine.
Mm-hmm.
But with that, if you looked at Twitter, cops didn't even have the shooter under control yet. Thankfully, they shot him, but it should have been a better shot. The only good thing of him surviving is the potential for gaining insight from another shooter to be able to put pieces together of what makes them tick. That's the only good thing about him surviving that event. But before they even had control of him, people were all over Twitter. Another mass shooting, another domestic terrorist, take the guns, this and that, and this and that. And then, we had politicians on TV today in emergency sessions of Congress. We had, Biden on TV today politicizing this thing. Let's as much as I don't want to politicize this thing, we have to look at it and know that there are forces arrayed against us being liberty lovers. Kent, you've got a flag behind you, and that looks to be U.S. flag circa 1945-ish. By the array of stars, that looks like the flag we were flying during World War II. Is that correct?
Yeah, you're not the first to notice that.
Behind me, there's a join or die in wood, a copy of the Franklin Join of Die engraving. We believe in liberty. We believe in self-reliance. We believe in personal responsibility. And it's not up to anybody to take our freedoms because somebody else did bad things. And with that, I've said it publicly before. I've been on record saying it. And not only will I take the politicians to task that are trying to take our rights away, and statists maybe leftists, may not be leftists, we'll say statists, who believe that the state should have the power to tell you how you live, how you won't live. I don't believe in that. But we also have to take the NRA to task.
Hell yeah, we do.
Mhm.
Because when I went through my NRA instructor course, both for pistol and for rifle, weapon was a dirty word.
Yep.
When I went through the pistol instructor course years and years ago, they actually had a swear jar in the front of the room saying, this is a swear jar for the word weapon. And me being the asshole that I am, I put a 20 in the jar and told them, let me know when I run out of credit.
Oh God, you have no idea how recently relevant this is to me. I'm bringing an AI up through the ranks of instructors, and I'm explaining to him how much he's going to want to tear his fucking eyes out when he goes to the NRA curriculum.
Right. And it's not just the NRA. It's folks talking modern sporting rifles. It's this.
Don't get me started.
But let's look at it. They're talking about weapons of war have no place on American streets. Do you have a firearm? It's a weapon of war.
Yeah.
And let's see. Let's go through history, because we've all established that, you know, we may drag our knuckles around at times, but we're kind of nerds too. Let's look at history. The Chinese invention of gunpowder, what was it made for? War. It wasn't for fireworks. And then they came up with this, you know, rockets on the gunpowder. And then somebody made, you know, a hand cannon. It was something so you've got standoff distance and you can launch a projectile into somebody using the power of gunpowder. And one development, another development, another development, another development. Your 22 is a weapon of war. Why is that? Because it's got a metallic self-contained cartridge. The self-contained cartridge was developed for repeating firearms for war. And then folks say, well, the guys that wrote the Constitution never could have seen this. There was a thing called a puckle gun before the Declaration of Independence was written. It was a repeating arm. Lewis and Clark did their expedition under Jefferson. They carried a Girandoni air rifle. It wasn't a firearm. It used compressed air instead of gunpowder, but it was a repeating rifle. So to say that they never could have seen developments in arms, it's either historical ignorance or a bald-faced lie.
Well, on that same vein,
let's call it what it is. It is an assault rifle. It is a weapon of war. You know, the AR, Armalite rifle, okay, I get it. It's not assault rifle, it's Armalite rifle. But where did the term assault rifle come from? The Sturmgewehr. It was a select fire rifle. ARs that we can buy today are, you know, post 1986, or unless you're an SOT, whatever. But that's going down a different rabbit hole. Okay, it's not select fire. You don't have full auto capability. But that doesn't mean it wasn't developed as a weapon of war. Let's be intellectually honest. And let's be intellectually honest enough to say, yes, it's a weapon of war. And that's the way the founders wanted it. The Militia Act of 1792 required every able-bodied male between ages of X and Y, who is part of the militia because of being an able-bodied male between the ages of X and Y, to keep a firearm of suitable caliber and you know, serviceable condition for service. Required him to keep a cartridge box, required him to keep 24 rounds of powder and ball. Yes, the founders wanted us to be armed for war. They wanted us to be able to preserve liberty from external or internal threats. They wanted us to never have to use those capabilities, but they wanted us to keep those capabilities. And people that are listening, don't take my word for it. Look up Patrick Henry's quotes. Nothing will preserve liberty but force. And when you give up that force, you are ruined. Look up that quote.
Yep.
They told us what they were thinking. So no, nobody wants these events to happen. But everybody that's arraying their forces to try to use this to take freedom away from us, it's not about the gun. It's about self-reliance. It's about liberty. And it's about preserving the American way of life. And that's all I've got on that one.
Federalist number 29 concerning militia. Go read something. Here's the nerd in me, and I'm really not an academic elitist, but I can fucking read. So when you ask what they had in their minds, what did the founding fathers have in their minds when they wrote this Declaration of Independence, when the Constitution and all these framing documents were put together? Literally go read what Alexander Hamilton was talking about in Federalist 29. Go through it.
Mm-hmm.
Go through the whole document. These guys, if you read Federalist 29, if Alexander Hamilton was alive today, this would be his fucking Twitter, kids. This was him putting, pen to paper saying what he was thinking when he was thinking it. Don't tell me he wasn't thinking about a tyrannical government. Don't tell me he wasn't thinking about regular everyday Joes protecting themselves with arms. Don't try to sell me that crap. I can go read the guy's journal, for Christ's sakes. It's really not hard to figure out. The idea that we're not supposed to do, not for nothing, but we're nothing but primates. According to Joe Rogan, we're primates that ate the right mushrooms, I guess. Right? Here's the thing, man. We've been killing each other forever. We have been doing some dastardly, devious, terrible shit to each other for a long, long time.
Cain and Abel, dude. We're going to ban rocks?
Yeah. If you think for 1 second that the evil and the hubris of humanity is going to stop because you take away a tool, you are retarded, because I can beat you to death with this microphone on my desk. I don't know what to tell you. That's not how the world works. That's not how humanity works. The only reason we have a society at all is because we bred enough men like Mike and TJ to outnumber the pussies. That's the only reason that we have anything we have today. Whatever it is that you hold dear in your heart, in your freedoms, in your life, and whatever things you think matter in your world, they only exist because we put enough people in enough places at the right time to make sure that we're even still here in the first place. Otherwise, we'd have been conquered. Man up and I didn't do it. Man up and thank somebody who did. Not that self-righteous, dick-sucking, thank a veteran bullshit. I mean, honestly, say to a veteran, like, hey, man, I'm glad you're around. Like, really look through your own lens, because I'm tired of hearing this attitude that the guns, the tools, the weapons, the whatever else are the problem. And I've felt this way before I was making a paycheck in this business. I'll tell you that much right now. That's another thing I'm sick of hearing. God almighty. But I could soapbox on this all day. TJ, you got anything on this? You were all kinds of smart when we talked earlier. You got
I mean, I'll take it a step further, Mike. I concur with you on the whole and you can't with the whole, if you're going to flip out your phone and start yelling World Star while people are dying in pools of blood around you, you deserve a fate worse than death. But I would go one further, and I'm gonna call an audible and go pro-government regulation and legislation on this one. We'll call it the lead follower, get the fuck out of the way law.
Oh yeah, I like this.
If you are not going to do everything in your power to get the hell out of there, render aid to those that are injured or dying, or actively take measures and execute on actions that will mitigate and stop the threat, and you're going to pull out your phone and make this dude famous or this girl famous, whoever it might be, you should be tried as an accomplice and suffer the same charges that they would suffer if they survive that encounter with law enforcement.
I like it.
Pull out your phone and yell "World Star now, motherfucker. I dare you."
I like it. I like it a lot. Yeah. We were, so as you, the viewer and listener, can tell, the thing that TJ and I were most miffed about was the military-aged, able-bodied male whose best tool he could think of was Instagram.
Well, and the thing, he went so far. This wasn't even like somebody that was in the store. This was an asshole that went into the danger zone.
He was man enough to run in, but he had the wrong thing in his fucking hand.
And to that note, I want to make a comment. So again, yes, thoughts and sympathies to those that lost loved ones, but a message to all those that are out there screaming to the high heavens on the pile of their dead brethren and sisters that lay around them in the store, that they're happy to leverage for their soapbox. We might get on our soapbox about a few things, but we don't make our soapbox out of dead bodies. They'll get out there and shout, "Oh, these guns, it's time to do something about this. The violence is enough. The violence is enough." If you're openly admitting to me that the violence is bad enough that millions of Americans should be labeled as terrorists and jailed for the possession of a tool that they use to provide food, defend their homes and livelihoods, their families, friends, and neighbors, because the violence is getting so bad, but you haven't acknowledged it to the point where you want to take active precautions and measures to prepare yourself in the event that you come across that danger or that violence, you are full of shit. If the violence is truly that bad, and I'm not even saying you need to go out and carry a firearm. I'd love to see you join our side of the aisle and become self-reliant, and as Kent and I like to say, a responsible self-defender. But take a medical class. Right? If you're going to live in your bubble and say, "Oh, it'll never happen to me," how about you think about the person next to you? Because it could, while it might not happen to you, it could sure as shit happen to the guy standing next to you. Go take a medical class. If the violence is so bad that we need to take the measures that everyone is championing right now, do something about it. Because while love my guys and love my boys in blue and all, especially the good ones, name one crime, especially a violent crime that has resulted in dead bodies, that a law enforcement officer has stopped.
Yeah.
In progress, these guys are, no one is coming to save you. It's not going to happen. So stop wishing for it, right? Been shot at plenty of times with dudes left and right of me. They weren't there to save my ass. We were there for ourselves and hopefully for each other as a byproduct of that in a unified effort. But there was no backup. There was no 911 coming for me or my friends. We were it. Take some self-responsibility and cowboy the fuck up.
You know what, TJ? I'll agree with you, but I'll say if you are carrying a gun, you should also take a medical class.
Fuck
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're carrying a gun, if you're not carrying a gun, if you hate guns, I don't care. Take a medical class. Hopefully you'll never come across an event like this. But there's nothing saying you won't come across a traffic accident tomorrow.
Yep. We have echoed those exact same sentiments on this show, Mike.
I keep a medical bag in my truck for a reason. And that reason is whenever it is needed, but I hope it's not. Whatever scenario it may be needed, but I hope it's not. But there's a medical bag in the truck.
Hell yeah. What's interesting about today, I guess I'll leave it with this. As I was, this happened yesterday. I was processing it today. The only reason I don't make content specifically about this stuff is because I would never want to be accused of, profiting or gerrymandering or carpetbagging or whatever you will on such a thing. I could easily come on this platform or any other number of my other platforms and do the whole, let's do a breakdown on the incident or whatever. I'm not that fucking guy, right? But what I will say is this: is I was reflecting on this morning, grading some school papers and sitting here at my desk. I found myself making a list of men and women that I know in person that I wish were at that fucking grocery store. And I'm going to tell you what, I'm honored because I got a long goddamn list of people that I was like, shit, man, if that person was there, if this person was there. Now, you don't have to be G.I. Joe or G.I. Jane and be able to do cheetah flips out of helicopters backwards and shoot B8s at 25 yards perfect or this or that. Having half of a brain and the gumption to go get something done and do some good for your fellow man would have done a lot of good in this and every other incident. And we'll find, just like, the news will find some guy that'll be the hero of all this that, he got 3 old ladies out of the back door or something. Good. That should be fucking all of you. That should be everybody. Because I'm going to tell you right now, I know no shit 143 people. I'm not done writing my fucking list yet. It sounds like a little bit like a manifesto, but it is what it is. Who I'm thinking to myself, I wish you'd have rounded the corner with your AR while my boy so-and-so was standing there and watch what the fuck would have happened. You got a lesson in red dot fundamentals real quick. And there are people in this planet who have the skills and the capabilities to do something about this shit. And I would encourage you to count yourself, whoever you are hearing the sound of my voice, among them. Does do something about it mean you have to come out to me and pay me $99.99 for the rest of your life for gun training? No, it fucking does not mean that at all. What it does mean, though, is that you can be bothered to take a 2-hour stop to bleed class once every 2 years. What it does mean is that you can be smart enough to have a plan for you and your kids that, hey, listen, little man, when daddy says this word, daddy fucking means it. And no matter what you're doing with you and mama, when you hear daddy say this word, you do whatever daddy says next, no matter what, right? How about having some of that in your life? I'll tell you what, I feel for people. TJ and I are talking about this. My trigger is kids. Yeah. Don't take somebody else's kids. Like, yeah, I've been there. I hate it. It angers me. Man, oh man, oh man. What can you do for your kids? What can you do for somebody else's kids? You're telling me you can't figure out a way to work a tourniquet into your life? That's somebody else's kid, maybe. I'll give you everything I got. I'm not some G.I. Joe soldier, Marine Recon Force Delta sniper cop guy. I'm just a dude. But I'll tell you this much. I got what I got for you. I'll give you everything I can. Now, we all have to be man and woman enough to realize that we have a circle of responsibility that extends outward of ourselves and wraps around our children and our wives and our families and our mothers-in-law and, brothers and sisters and people, everybody knows this story, right? We all got family who aren't blood and we all got blood who aren't family and all that. So who's ever in your tribe, Varg Freeborn, Violence of Mind, calls this working out your mission, right? You need to be really smart about figuring out what your mission really is. And on that fateful day, when it befalls you, is running headlong into a gunfight really your job or not? That's not for me to if you're waiting for some dude on a podcast to tell you, I hate to tell you this, but I'm not here to tell you that. That's between you and your God and your family. I don't know what to tell you about that. But I do know this. I'd love for you to have some level of skill. I don't think it's too much to ask for you to have some level of basic med skills. And God forbid if I can get you to carry a gun, great. But the other side of this is, as much as these, the filming people bother me, the other people that bother me is the dudes that, I took 3 gun classes this year, so I'll tell you exactly what I would have done. It's like, oh, okay, homie. Sure you would have. Like, I can't get you to hit a B8 on a blue sky sunny day on the range, like in the best of circumstances, but now all of a sudden you're going to run into the grocery store, I guess. I guess
headlong into the breach, man. Headlong into the breach.
Sure, do it. I guess you would have. I don't know, man. But it is what it is. What I would say, and by the way, not everybody hearing our voice agrees. I happen to know that there are some folks who disagree with us that will hear this, and that's good. That's what we're here for. But those of you that do agree with us on the freedom bent and the constitutionalist and the libertarian-ish kind of any of those of you who, I don't know, happen to value your own rights, let your voices be heard. Write a letter, like a real one. God forbid with a pen, but if not with a pen, like your own typing, your fingers and the keyboard.
Well, I don't know, man. If that Second Amendment only meant muskets, then I guess we're going to have to delete Twitter and go back to ink and quill and papyrus.
Right.
You know, TJ, you just triggered me. And here's why. Because I used to talk about Second Amendment rights. And Ash made me rethink that. We were talking one night, and he was like, "What do you mean Second Amendment rights?" And he twisted my worldview for the better. The Second Amendment of the United States Constitution doesn't grant us anything.
It codifies it.
It codifies pre-existing rights. Now we're going back to Locke and Hobbes and the Enlightenment and all this stuff, natural rights endowed by the Creator. The Second Amendment didn't do anything but codify that there was a pre-existing right to keep the tools necessary for securing yourself, your family, and your liberty. You can take the Second Amendment away tomorrow. It doesn't mean I don't still have the right to maintain those tools.
Absolutely.
For
Absolutely.
sure. Well, this is one of those things where number one, we couldn't just let yesterday be yesterday and us not, here we are live tonight and not talk about it. For those of you paying the podcast home game, today is March the 23rd of 2021, and we are referring to the happenings in Colorado at the grocery store yesterday. It kind of occurs to me that somebody's going to hear this 6 months from now and go, "What the fuck are these dudes even talking about?" So that's where we're at. That's when this show was recorded. So that's why we feel the need to talk about this. Otherwise wouldn't be within our purview to do current events and news, and we don't often do that stuff. But can't come on here and do that. And plus, I knew honestly, I had a pretty good idea Mike would have some good insight, and TJ, you always do. So,
well, as much as it sucks, dude, there'll be another time when we have to bring this up again.
Yeah, we said that last time, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
It fucking pains my soul, man. I wish we didn't have to do this. And these videos, this is not monetized. We're not going to slide from some people got shot yesterday to, a sale on rats tourniquets. God, that was a terrible joke that didn't mean to be one. You get where I'm going, right? We're not going to do that. That wasn't the point. The point is come on, man. We have to do better as a community.
Yeah.
And, if we don't talk about this, the bitch is we either stifle ourselves and go, "Oh, we better not talk about that." We've already lost at that point. If we hit that, we might as well pack up the microphones and fucking open the safes and let them come take everything. Because then if we can't even talk about what we're feeling, then we're really screwed.
Well,
So,
I would even challenge those playing the home game, right? So naturally, with this, there's going to be plenty of debate. It's going to conquer the news cycle for the next couple of weeks. And there's going to be debate. There's going to be discussion, among those of you that might be listening to this. I would challenge you with something. And I'm not going to challenge you with having the debate about, Second Amendment rights versus First Amendment rights versus it's an AR, no, it's a modern sporting rifle or any of that bullshit. I'm going to challenge you to shift your conversation to holding people accountable for medical training.
mm-hmm.
I would love to see that because one, in my opinion, I think begets the other eventually. You get those hardliners that are absolutely, I will never pick up a gun, I'll never own a gun, whatever have you. Okay, fine. Hey, asshole, how about you go learn how to save a life then? Right? You come talk to me and we'll have this discussion again when you tell me when you can demonstrate to me that you're going to do something.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Go get that medical training. Go pick you up a kit. It's what's your life worth, right? Let's not go to wish.com and find tourniquets. Get you a quality medical kit, get you some quality training on how to use that equipment. And if you're not going to help me fight, then help me save people.
Absolutely. It's also interesting. The last year and a half have been my year and a half of introducing the uninitiated into the gun space. Right? That's all I've been doing for a year and a half straight, 2 hours at a time, or 8 hours, or 16 hours at a time, if I'm lucky. I've been introducing the uninitiated into the world of guns. And you are the bankers and the teachers and the plumbers and the regular ass people out here who have all come to me and those like me and who have said, the world is XYZ and therefore I bought this. Can you show me how to efficiently use it?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. And I've done so, politic agnostic, with as much respect as I possibly can to your personal viewpoints on the world. And matter of fact, I've made, through that, as I often and want to do, because if I'm not a gun guy, at least I'm a stand-up comedian. So I'm funny, if nothing else. Right. And we make friends and we talk and all these people from all these different areas come together. There are 7 to 8 million of you who are new, first-time, no-shit gun owners. Many of you have been through my classes here in the last year and a half. I didn't used to get nearly this many new people, but now I am. Welcome to the world of it being your fault every time somebody does something stupid with the device you own.
Yep.
I'm sorry for you. I'm sorry about your bad luck, but I've been saying this shit forever. Now that you are a gun owner, you are the villain in the eyes of the people who you used to be collegiate friends with, work friends with, brothers, sisters, mothers, cousins, whoever. Now all of a sudden, it's all you gun owners need to. Man, I'll tell you what. One thing I will do, if I was to draw a comparison, would be this. If this was a First Amendment rights attack, imagine being vilified for owning a pen or a smartphone or this.
Mm-hmm.
This is a tool in my everyday life. The better I get at this shit and the more I teach it, the less it's part of my ethos. I don't know if you can believe that or not, but it's true. It's just a fucking tool.
Yeah.
It really, truly, at the end of the day, it's just a fucking tool.
Yeah.
You can believe that or you can't, but don't hate somebody for owning a tool.
And you know what? Very seldom is it the correct tool.
No shit.
Just because I have this screwdriver, that crescent wrench, this hammer, that hammer, you got to get the right tool for the right reason. Very seldom is a firearm the correct tool to solve a problem.
Yep.
But that doesn't mean it doesn't have a place in the toolbox.
Absolutely.
No, this has been great. So we're very blessed in this podcast because usually when we start winding them down, we have to say this and we have to say it again. We're going to have to do another one of these, my friend, because
absolutely
we could go and go on this. Again, good recommendations, like minds, all that stuff. It's awesome to meet somebody through this medium, and I can't wait to meet you through a real medium and do some version of something in person.
We'll get you down to a QP match eventually, bud.
Look at him with the segues and the yeah, nice.
Yeah,
I'm over here, by the way. There you go.
God damn it, the internet. But no, seriously. So for one thing, please, you are invited back at any given point in time. So that's the first thing we always got to say. The next thing we always have to say is that, my goodness, time is the world's most valuable resource, and here you have given us multiple hours of it. We are in your debt for that. We appreciate you, Mike. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen.
Absolutely. And now, on the lighter-hearted or maybe not lighter-hearted side of this, we might be hitting you with a curveball, but we do this on every show. If you would, sir, do me a favor and pick a charity. Yeah, we know. It wasn't meant to be it's not a gotcha. It's just, hey, man, pick a charity you like.
So many great ones out there, but given the last half hour of conversation, Second Amendment Foundation.
Great. Hell yeah. So, TJ, what do you got for us tonight?
Absolutely. So, folks, if you head on over to teespring.com/refinement, you will find the t-shirt dedicated and inspired by one Mike Lewis himself. As is typical, any of the t-shirts that we design based or inspired by our guests, all proceeds from the sale of that t-shirt specifically will go to their charity of choice. Second Amendment Foundation is Mike's charity of choice tonight. It's certainly one we've heard before, and it's one that I know Kent and I are certainly happy to contribute to. So if you head on over to the link that I've pasted here in the chat, also posted up here on the screen, and will be posted in the description of this video, please head on over and purchase a shirt. And of course, if you don't want to purchase a shirt, you can always contribute directly to those charities, and links to the Second Amendment Foundation will be included as well.
You didn't know you're getting your own t-shirt out of this, did you?
No.
See that?
That's awesome.
See that? So that's what we do. We every episode gets a t-shirt from here until infinity, because my smarter, more creative, better half business counterpart over there, Mr. Ramsey, develops a t-shirt while we're talking. And
I'm creative and shit.
Right.
That's
then
awesome.
we sell that motherfucker for no profit to ourselves, and we donate that money to whatever charity the gentleman or lady says on the show. So there you go. So
yep. So SAF.org for those of you listening. SAF.org is the Second Amendment Foundation. You can contribute directly there if you choose not to purchase a t-shirt.
yeah, screw our t-shirts. Just donate to those guys. But
That works
way,
for us. That works for us too.
you know, you can donate a little money by buying a t-shirt, and then all the proceeds get funneled right through the them. So it's been cool for us. We started doing this like 20 or 25 episodes ago. And for me, it's been a real interesting, like, some of these charities have been like stuff I've never, nobody said the United Way, right? Like, it's, obviously SAF, but some of these guys have said like real intricate regional stuff. We've learned stuff about individuals that, like, oh, I've got a kid with XYZ disease and this means a lot to me. And of course, the SAF and stuff like that obviously makes a lot of sense. So, Mike, real quick, where can they find you? Where can all the good Canebrake stuff come from? Where should they go? We've already got links in the description, by the way, but get it on audio.
The Canebrake tools, Canebrake tools are available on Amazon. The links are like XYZ, BOTF, whatever. You can find them on my website, Canebrake, CANEBRAKE.us, and find them under products. Click, it'll take you to the Amazon page. Easy. Targets that I've developed and worked with, Right in the Rain. Link will take you to Right in the Rain, or you can go directly to Right in the Rain. Training. Military training offerings are on the site, canebrake.us. If you want to do something, civilian oriented, or just, hey, basic rifle class, whatever, too easy, hit me up, mike.lewis@canebrake.us. You can find me on Instagram, mike.lewis556, or find me on the Book of Faces at Canebrake Consulting Services. I think it's SVCS, but either way, Canebrake Consulting Services.
Very, very cool. Spell Canebrake, CANE.
BRAKE. It's
Canebrake.
Correct.
Yep.
As we're talking self-reliance and whatnot, canebrake is another name for the timber rattlesnake. So a little bit of lineage, a little bit of symbology there without being in your face.
I like it. Very cool. So that being said, all kidding aside, we wouldn't be able to do this without the people that help support us. www.greenmountaindefense.com/affiliate-links is where you can find all that good information. You're going to buy gun stuff anyway. Might as well buy it from the folks that support us. We really appreciate that. As a firearms training company, I do spend an awful lot of time promoting my quote-unquote competitors. Change the word competitors to best friends, and you got the idea, right? So here's the deal. Apache Solutions Firearms Training out of Yadkinville, North Carolina. Go find those guys. Go find Scotty Cronin and the boys over in Ohio out of Gunset Training. Right here next to me, I'm promoting a quote-unquote couple competitors. Sam DeSimone out of Evolution Training Solutions. Go train with him. Go train with Phil Groff from Vigor Training right here out of Central Pennsylvania. Go train with Ashton Ray out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Train with Scott Jodlinski, Modern Samurai Project. Train with
Yes.
Tim Heron Shooting. Train with Bill Rapier, Amtech Shooting. Train. My goodness. So here's the deal, right? If you want to know who Kent thinks you should train with, you should probably look at the podcast and look at the past guests, because holy shit, they've been on here. Again, I do a lot of promoting my quote-unquote competitors. That's a clue, people. It means I've taken their classes and they're fucking legit, so you should probably take them too. This is an industry and a business where rising tides rise all ships. We do not see each other in the negative space where we're trying to fight for your attention. Everybody knows there's 5,000 or so serious trainers in the world, and everybody was okay with accepting that, and I am not. I'm here to turn regular people into serious trainers and bring us all in some more customers. I'm doing what I can, right? So half of them, or not half of them, but half of the people in this freaking chat tonight are actually people who have been my customers and who are getting more and more serious. Shout out to you, Don. I appreciate you jumping on here. My man was out here on a freaking 2-hour private lesson with me earlier tonight. And I guess he didn't get tired of hearing my stupid voice, because then he came and watched the podcast live. That's pretty freaking cool.
You must not have told any jokes.
Yeah, it was all the dad jokes, right? We're doing what we can to bring in new people into that serious training community. We're trying like hell. So jump in, man. Train with all those folks. When you're done training with all those folks, greenmountaindefense.com/training is where you can find me. I'd be happy to contribute if I can, right? And I'd be happy to help you out. If you want to learn something about pointing a pistol in the right direction, pressing the trigger, getting it out of an appendix holster, doing it reasonably well, I can help you. If you want to learn how to take a room or clear the Apache helicopter, or jump from a rope, or do spaceship shit, I'm probably not your guy, but I know this much. If the beeper goes beep and I can get my hands on the thing and press the thing and do the thing, I'm pretty good at the thing, right? So I can help you with that. Let me help you. I'm more than happy to do that, and a heavy dose of humility and humor while we do it. It's enjoyable, if nothing else. So jump in and do that. My man TJ makes some of the world's most finest custom knives. That's at TKR Knives on Instagram. Make TJ make you a knife. He also writes articles for The Gunpoint and others. So you read what TJ writes. Flesh Kincaid scale is off the charts when he writes, I assure you. Let's see what else. We've got a social media page for this year podcast. The Facebook has gone actually kind of, our damn little Facebook groupie page thing has started to all of a sudden take off for some reason. I fuck the algorithm. I have no idea why. It's nothing you and I did differently, but here it is. It's starting.
They heard about the whacking off. That's
yeah, OnlyFans. Yeah, they figured that shit out. So there's that. And look, if nothing else, find a way, get out and shoot, hit us up, let us help you answer questions. We're more than happy to refer you to somebody else. I've done an awful lot. Kent at greenmountaindefense.com. Hey, I'm in Iowa and I heard your podcast and I don't know who to train with. Great. Give me 48 business hours and I'll find you a vetted class. I promise. There's somebody worth a shit everywhere you are. And if there isn't somebody worth a shit everywhere you are, start hosting people, and in a couple of years, you'll be the guy that's worth a shit. Ask me how I know. Fair enough? TJ, you want to do a little sign off and we'll get the hell out of here.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Mike, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. As Ken said, we will certainly have to have you back. God willing, it will be under more pleasant circumstances to the end of the conversation, but definitely going to have you back, man. Appreciate your time. Mr. Ben, yep, Kent is over in Pennsylvania, or Pennsylvania, as he likes to say. So if you are in the Pennsylvania area, Northern Virginia, Maryland area, go train with my boy Kent. With that being said, folks, I'm TJ the Lead Sling'N Ginger. Kent is Green Mountain Defense. Find us on social media. You can also find the Sling'N Lead podcast on Facebook. Chat us up there. Shoot us questions. Kent and I both monitor those. And if you've got comments or questions, we'll be happy to field them on the show. And if you're not comfortable leaving a comment, or you sworn off Facebook for the litany of reasons that there are to swear off Facebook, you can hit us up at slingandleadpodcast at gmail.com. Until then, folks, take care of each other. God bless you all, and get out and shoot.
Bye, guys. Thanks.